All right, first off, I was going to actually do a video from the barn so you could see my horse, but, and then have an hour-long introduction to KO Gorgeous for the newbies, new subscribers, and an introduction to the thoroughbred racehorse. And it's yucky out, and I've got to go get my hair done at 2, so I can't go off and do that, sadly. So I'm just gonna hang out. We're gonna talk about Indiana Jones 5. Apparently, a few days ago, and this has been floating around the British press, Indy 5 had another tragedy happen. A member of the crew collapsed near where Harrison Ford was standing, and Harrison called for medical help, and they had to life flight the guy, I think, out of Pinewood. I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say this. Hey, Dave. Oh, thanks. Thank you for that. I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say this movie should not be made. Obviously, I have a great love for the character, love for the franchise. It's my second favorite franchise, Star Wars being my first. And, you know, this is probably Harrison Ford's last movie. All right. And he got a chance to say goodbye to Deckard and Blade Runner, and of course the Han Solo thing, which he's now back as, I guess. But I think what bothers me is how it's been approached very unprofessionally by Kathy, both in what I guess was a story, which is, if like I said, if those rumors Doomcock posted are true, if what ended up in the Daily Mail is half true, this is a disaster. It's shitty story writing. It is literally the anti-Raiders of the Lost Ark. All right. There's a great video out right now about the sequel trilogy being the anti-Star Wars. And I'm in the middle of watching it. Troy Pacelli put it on the MeWe page, and I started watching it, and then I got sidetracked. So, you know, this is what it looked like. It looked like it was going to be the anti-Raiders of the Lost Ark, the anti... It says Indiana Jones, but nothing about it would be. And when that came out, and I'm not talking about Doomcock's rumors, because that came out, I think, in July. When that came out in the Daily Mail, that was October. Okay. And then Indy 5 got its release date pushed back. I think the reason why is because they were probably still trying to catch up from what they didn't get done because of Harrison's injury. And also, they went in and had to do reshoots. Okay, so I think this is going to be, I think there's about 2 different movies that were shot. All right, now, from what I've heard, they're in a crunch time, and it's going to be very tough to finish everything in a timely manner. With that being said, if it's true that the board of directors at Disney is pissed off about, well, Kennedy not being able to deal with a production this big, think about it. Every multi-million-dollar big tent production she's made, with the exception of TLJ, has turned into a gigantic mess. I think even TFA had reshoots. You know, I would say that when the Millennium Falcon's landing ramp landed on Harrison Ford's foot and broke it, probably would have been a signal from God that maybe what they're doing was wrong. Okay. But you know, I'll go into why I believe this is the same fucking thing, pardon my French, that we've seen with Star Wars. Okay. But we don't have J.J. Abrams as part of it. James Mangold is not the same kind of director. He's an actually really good director. Okay. He can tell a good story. And, but the problem is that when you look at, The Force Awakens, it was everything that Star Wars wasn't. It basically denied the prequel trilogy ever happened. All right. When you have someone who's so bitter, acting like a bitter fanboy about the prequels, and they get their hands on making the next Star Wars project, again, when you've got people wandering around in Hollywood believing that the prequels were bad movies, and you're George Lucas, you have a problem. Because if any of those people ever get a chance, they will undo everything you did. Okay? They'll put things in there that don't belong. They are literally the anti-prequels. Every one of the sequel trilogies is. Just like I believe Indiana Jones 5 was supposed to be the anti-Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Okay? But because that's the way Kennedy works. That's the way, when this was all getting decided, that Bob Iger works. If the narratives, and we've seen it in the YouTube channel Kingdom, if the narrative says this sucks, everybody will say it sucks. All right. If you say it doesn't, or ask people to maybe look at it again from a different angle, you're the one that gets beaten down. Okay? Just saying. And the narrative in Hollywood was the prequel trilogy was terrible. But it wasn't. I mean, when you watch those movies, you suddenly realize there's a hell of a story there, and they should be respected. People complained about the CGI. There were more miniatures and more practical effects in The Phantom Menace than there were in The Force Awakens. Okay? All right? Remember, CGI was still in its sort of infant toddler stage at the time. And what we did notice is CGI wasn't as good as it is now. Okay? ILM has really pushed the boundary of everything, okay, with that technology. But again, and this is why, I mean, past is prologue, as Shakespeare said. And those who do not remember the past, or those who are not stopped, are doomed to are doomed to repeat it. And when I look at Indy 5 and all the trouble, this is par for the course for Kennedy's management style, which is buffoonery, incompetence, laziness, shallowness, dependence on a political soapbox rather than, just telling a good story. And on the face of it, if we are to believe that stuff is going to still be there, which I doubt it, because I think Bob Chapek went, and I think that look, the Susan Arnold, the advent of her ascendancy to chairman of the board at Disney was decided a year ago. So she is probably already feeling things out. So when that rumor hit the Daily Mail, because they're not, look, nobody at Disney is ever going to take any of us seriously, okay? They're not. I mean, YouTube may be the big new thing, and it actually might be the new media industry, and a lot of people who are not very good at analysis are there, basically making YouTube money. it is very interesting to me watching all this unfold. And you're like, okay, what is, you know, watching this all unfold, because it took, I think, a legit newspaper, the Daily Mail, to put that stuff out there for Disney to act. Okay, now, oh, I'm doing great, Jonathan. What's up? Had a panic attack late last night, really bad. Heart was racing, so I'm going to see my doctor tomorrow. I've been on and off seeing a cardiologist for years, ever since I got out of the hospital at Mayo, all right, when I was 19. So I need to get a referral to see them again, just to check everything. Last time I was checked, everything was normal. But every once in a while, when you wake up and your heart's going a bajillion miles an hour, and you really should have be in contact with the people that take care of you. Okay, and it doesn't matter how old you are. I've known people who've died of brain hemorrhages at the age of 20. Okay, had strokes at the age of 35. So, a lot of this stuff. Oh yeah, it is. A lot of this stuff. A lot of it's stress, which I don't know why, because I'm not really that stressed out about things. I think part of it is my temper. But I know what it is. Okay, and I've had this. I discovered it really bad when I worked in politics. One of the reasons why I was so thankful to find my husband and just to leave, as much as I loved DC, it is hell on the body. Okay, politics of that kind, you have to have a really thick hide, and the idea of caring about something should not be a rule. Okay, you don't. The idea of caring about, your country, your constituents, getting the word out there, getting the truth out there. If you're going to be in politics, you can't. All right. The only people I know that can do it are people who don't care, who are just there to make money and a name for themselves, like Rick Wilson, or the people who are ideologues, like you name the Democrat, okay, Nancy Pelosi, but even she's cynical. I mean, you have to be a cynic, and if you care too much, it's going to eat you up inside, okay? And when I left, my life and outlook got a lot healthier. I was able to focus on what's important in life, my husband, and other things, okay? And that's the thing you got to do. That's what you have to do. And I contracted or discovered I had high blood pressure, having low blood pressure my whole life. Okay, one of the things my doctors were always pleased with is I had not dangerously low, but it was low. It was naturally low, like my mom's. I started working in DC, and the stress combined with lack of sleep, combined with poor food, nutrition. You walk into the office in the morning, and for lunch they bring in pizza or Chinese food, all right? Or you go to a barbecue. It's in the alcohol. There's, when we moved Mr. Army out of the Cannon House office building, I counted a ton of liquor. I took home all the beer. I counted a ton of liquor. I could not believe it. But there's the problem. It does not condone a healthy lifestyle. And I had panic attacks even then, even though I didn't know what they were. I was on high blood pressure medicine. I was 32 years old, 30 years old. And every once in a while, it'll just come up and poof right in your face. So it's not fun. It's not dangerous. I'm fine. Um, you know, I regulate everything, and but I gotta go. I gotta go. Make a routine visit to the doc, and then get a chance to talk to the cardiologist, and that's what I'm gonna do. And I think there have been some things that have disappointed me that have gotten to me. Um, you know, some things that are probably stupid for me to have been commenting on, but still, again, I'm a person who cares about what I care about a lot. And, and I put my trust in some people that I shouldn't have. You know, again, my political senses, when I realized some things, started going off. And it's like, okay. So anyway, back to Indy 5. So what I think is what we're seeing is just a repeat of The Rise of Skywalker's filming. I think what we're seeing is a repeat of TFA. Mike, if you're still here, there's a great video. I'm going to send it to you in a text. It's called the Anti-Trilogy, the Anti-Star Wars Trilogy, and it's about TFA, and it's really condemning of J.J. Abrams. It is just, I mean, I didn't realize this before, but he literally was the reason why this shit happened. He did not stand up for Michael Arndt. He was a yes man. Everything they wanted to do, he did. Okay, like what I'm doing is I'm kind of paralleling what I believe they're trying to do to Indiana Jones. He talks about the guy. I think he's probably listened to me. This guy, the de-evolution of Han Solo's character. Everything he became was taken away from him because, and hey, Code Raven, everything he was taken away from him. He was, what we know is drunk deadbeat dad Han Solo, who, had I mean, Chris Gore is right. It was a villain's death. Only villains fall off the scaffoldings and catwalks like that. Okay, that's what it was. All right, and when you look at it, TFA was merely the gateway to TLJ. I am now convinced JJ knew from the start where they were going with it and didn't care. Okay? Mark Hamill told a story that he was looking at the script and called up JJ and said, aren't I supposed to be doing like balancing rocks in the air? Like huge boulders? And JJ said, oh, no, we took that out. I mean, for the end of The Force Awakens. It's really interesting to me, and when you suddenly realize that on the outside, the sequels look disjointed and they don't make any sense, either together or in universe. But when you look at them in more depth, it suddenly dawns on you that they are the anti-Star Wars trilogy. They, again, the guy talked about they ignored the prequels completely because, like with Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, we cannot have anything that reminds people of that. And it's very interesting to me that Ghostbusters Afterlife did have Easter eggs for Ghostbusters 2, which for some reason people didn't like. And there's so many funny moments. I mean, when Louis Tully tells the judge that if they violate the judicious restraining order, as he called it, they could be exposing themselves. And Bill Murray leans across and he goes, and you don't want us exposing ourselves. I mean, the Scolari brothers, when you see the assistant DA being picked up upside down, kicking and screaming in through the door by the ghosts. I mean, come on, man. Where's your sense of humor, dude? You know, that's some funny shit. Or when they discovered that the slime is psychokinetic, and they discover that Egon's been sleeping with it. You dog. I mean, there's one crazy thing. Oh, he is. I mean, he's not. I look at them as the cultural Taliban, the entire cabal. Even Larry Kasdan, who, I must say, he knew better. I mean, he really did know better. And he did it anyway. He didn't stand up and say, you know, we're not doing this character justice. We're taking a lot of what this character became away from him. Her. I mean, I'm sorry, but a princess becoming a general is a demotion. She got demoted. Leia did. Luke's 30 seconds of standing in front of a rock, which looked to a lot of people like a tomb, stone for somebody, with that look of despair, and that wasn't Luke Skywalker. Even if he had cut himself off of the Force, that really wasn't the way I think he would react. And Mark, I know, had a problem with that. No one knows that character better than Mark. And it was stunning to me that JJ sacrificed a good story and Star Wars itself to make what he thinks the fans wanted. Gratuitous fan service that had no meaning. Go to Ghostbusters Afterlife. That's the way you do it. Okay, that is the way you do it. The de-evolution of the original trilogy heroes. You know, I've said this before, I'll say this again. You cannot write a good character and then drag them back to where they were. But that being said, the biggest Puritans on the planet about human behavior are the left. Okay? You know, I had a huge argument with a woman who, you know, insisted Han Solo was a drug addict. Nothing, even in the old canon, said that. There's a huge difference between bringing spice, which is being turned into glitter stem, for Jabba, and being a drug addict. I mean, hey, sci-fi. In fact, if you look at the mafia, now, granted, it was against the rules for the guys to sell, and when they got caught, they were killed. That was a rule, but even those guys knew to stay away from it. It was shit, okay? The guys who ended up alcoholics, drug addicts, were dispatched. Okay, that's just what they did. They didn't want it around. It brought too much heat, okay? And, you know, you can look at, you know, a lot of these guys, these, like Sonny Franzese and a few other mafia bosses. And despite the tawdry way and the criminal way they behaved and their lifestyle, their jobs, they took care of their families. Okay, they put their families, you know, and being a smuggler is more than just running that shit. Okay, arms, you know, other like prescribed like things that were overly taxed. You know, back in the day, I could see Han Solo with a ship running tea from Jamaica, going a circuit around the British fleet to get it to the United States, to sell it, to get it to the people who wanted it for cheap. That's what that is, okay? Like the banning of alcohol. The banning of alcohol in 1920 created the Cosa Nostra, okay? It did. Hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars were spent on getting alcohol into the United States. Bootleg, gin, ick. but a lot of it was snuck in from Canada and Mexico. And there was a Luke. There, I mean, Al Capone. If you look at what he had in money when he was at the top, he was a billionaire. He was literally a billionaire. Okay, that's how much money he was making. All right, that's a big deal. To me, you know, banning alcohol is about it's as dumb. It's dumb. Okay, I'm also not exactly happy with the war on drugs. I mean, at least marijuana should be legal and regulated, just like alcohol. Okay, you're gonna buy some fatties. There's gonna be a stamp on it, a tax stamp. Okay, they keep tabs on it. All right, it would take away a lot of the criminal issues that we have. But again, we're talking about smugglers. But when you have characters who have gone through an epic trilogy together, their own character arcs, and you watch it build, and you see them, what they became, you know. And again, I'll go back to what I was talking about, what that lady said. People don't change. Yeah, they do. All right. This is how you change. I'm an idealist. Okay. I never stopped being an idealist. But how I go about it did change. Okay. There's a certain sense of reality. And if you're realistic in what, like, I'll give you the example of the half water a glass, or half glass of water. The optimist will say that's a half full glass of water. The pessimist will say that's a half empty glass of water. And the realist will say that's a glass of water. Okay? Does it matter if it's half empty or half full? No. This is just a glass of water. All right? It may not be filled up to the top. It may not be empty. It is just a glass of water. And when you start looking at things that way, I think it mitigates a little bit of an outlook, even for people like me, an idealist, to say there are things we can change, and we can change what's going on with Star Wars, regardless of what people think. The Disney is listening to us, okay? Regardless of what people think. When you look at the things we can change. Yeah, you're right, engineer, 50% capacity, you're right. It gives you a sense of not a contented reality, but a hopeful one. And when you look at what people, especially on the left, think about, you know, white, straight alpha males, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, it's really sick. I mean, and this is part of the problem with the sequel trilogy, because J.J. Abrams has that mentality. All right, Han Solo wasn't a smuggler. Luke Skywalker wasn't a farm boy by choice. Who they were was vastly different from their way of making a living. One was stuck by loyalty to the farm on Tatooine. Okay. The other, okay, great. The other was doing this job out of a sense of survival and out of a sense of adventure. Did he like doing it? I think so. I think a lot of it. But I think the reality was, for the character, I think it was out of self-preservation and cynicism is why he did that. You know, you got to look at it that way. So the idea that he was just a turd, no, he wasn't. Look, again, people put armor around themselves, especially guys, to protect themselves emotionally. In the origin story in the EU, Han was an orphan. in whatever this was in Solo. I don't know what it was, but it doesn't make the character did not make any sense, and it doesn't make sense in looking at the OT Han Solo that we met. Okay, I think John Favreau knows that. I think Dave Filoni knows that. I mean, even when you're even watching the Book of Boba Fett, you suddenly realize when you put it with the Clone Wars, you suddenly realize that a lot of his behavior was dictated by personal. It was a defensive mechanism to keep himself safe. Okay, Han's the same thing. All right, I don't stick my neck out for anybody. He learned a lesson. Where did he learn that? You know, you take what you get, you take what you want, you know, and you always got to keep your head on swivel because someone's going to come up and try to kill you, try to hurt you, take your ship, take your shipment. Okay. These are the things. Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, I know that. They don't want it to come out, but I know that TFA had some reshoots. I know they did. But you also know that there's, you know, there's a great line in Tatooine Ghost. Han is talking to Leia about Shmi Skywalker's journal, and Leia's been reading it, you know, the journal entries that survived, and listening to her grandmother. And Han says, Han basically says, no one's born evil. Now, I disagree with that. The reason why is because I believe in the dark, in the dark seed, the bad seed, because I've seen it in my own family. You know, you give somebody everything they want, you know, a good upbringing, and they're vile from the age of 1 until, you know, in their mid-40s. Okay, so you're not gonna convince me of that. But it's an interesting thing that Troy Denning, who wrote that, is a huge Democrat. Who could put that up there? But now you've got these woke SJW women acting like Puritans. You know, if you're Catholic, you might not be familiar with this. Calvinists, when they broke away from the church, believed in predestination. And I think the Pilgrims did too, which basically means no matter what, you're going to hell. This is what, that is the equivalent of the shit that I believe, that Kennedy believes about Han and Luke. That they're never good people, that they never had an inner virtuous core, okay? That they never had struggles with vulnerability and fear, okay? And fear is a horrible thing. Fear is, you know, when Yoda confronts Luke on his fear, when he confronts Anakin on his fear, that's a big thing, because fear is the gateway drug to the dark side. And it is a gateway drug to poor behavior on people's parts. Okay, you know, if you can't look at humanity and everybody in an objective fashion, you're not going to write a truthful film. If you're going to take something that has stood the test of time, a cornerstone of American film culture, and literally ignore half of it, devolve the main characters, you're lying to the fans. Okay, you're lying to the actors. All right, you're basically taking what everybody wanted to see, and, you know, basically branding it, you know, critical race theory talking points, okay, which is what it was, all right? Uh, you know, new, third wave feminist talking points. When I hear people say, even women my age, all men are scum. I remember that. There was a show on NPR, and the lady who did it, that was the first thing she would say. All men, not some men, all. Now, this is the mentality. Hey, Space Windu, this is the mentality behind The Force Awakens and the de-evolution of Han Solo and the de-evolution of Luke. Okay, all men are scum. Why would you do that? Why would you say that? It has a lot to do with being an ideologue. There's a difference between being an idealist and ideologue. Okay. It has to do with everything that probably the relationships this woman has had with men. But you're looking at someone here as a kid sitting in the backseat of a car, listening to my sisters talk about this horrible show. They're both married. One's married to a guy who's a serial cheater, the Bill Clinton of La Crosse, Wisconsin, and the other is married to just a scumbag, just a dirtbag. Okay, didn't realize he was a dirtbag till my father died. Okay, then I started hearing things, but I'm sitting in the back of the car. My dad was a World War II veteran. All right, my uncles, he fought, B-24 Liberators. He's a radio man, dropped bombs on Germans. His plane shot down, I would say, quite a few German planes, fighters. It was a 10-man crew. My uncles landed at Normandy. Another one was at Guadalcanal. They were good people. They were not scum. So already I'm going, and I have 4 brothers. Okay, all very unique individuals with their own foibles, but not scum. So I didn't know how to articulate what I was feeling. But what I heard now from this chick is that she is a very hateful person. And she has personal problem with some guy and painted everybody like that. But now we have many young women who are aggressive, act like, who treat guys like shit, and then wonder where all the good guys are. Well, you've beaten them into submission and they don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Okay? They don't know anything about romance. They think that they should be the ones to constantly pursue the guys, which is counter to every feminine instinct you should have. And it's counter to every masculine instinct a guy has. And they believe that these guys are scum. Now, sure, there are scummy guys. But this is the driving force behind the Force Awakens and the rest of the sequel trilogy. All right. This nonsense, this feminist critical race theory nonsense. We got Indiana Jones 5. I think it's probably been cursed. Again, like I said, I don't know if I agree that it should not have been made. But the fact of the matter is, past being prologue and Kennedy's track record of being a hands-on producer by herself, being what it is cursed. So what happens? What happened on the set just recently? I'll give you a rehash. A couple of days ago, on the set of INDY FIVE, one of the crew members collapsed. Harrison Ford was standing right there, called for a medic, and helped out till the medic arrived. and the guy was life flighted out. Apparent heart attack. There's something not spiritually right about any of this. And it's almost as though God is saying Kathleen Kennedy should not be involved with any movies at all, ever again. And that's what I'm getting out of that. I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense. It really, really is. But when you look at Harrison getting hurt, and I don't care what anyone says, I think he slow rolled it. You know, again, the things that happened after, I'm like, yeah, your shoulder is really hurt if you're walking around without a sling on and riding your bicycle over through Mayfair. Okay, been there, done that. Try walking in high heels in Mayfair. Okay, not fun. And I think he realized the script was bad. And then suddenly we get Doomcock's rumors. Then they show up in the Daily Mail, and then everything that Kennedy has been doing gets blasted into oblivion. I mean, basically, canceled, moved back, canceled, sold off to Paramount. So I think what we could be seeing is her. We haven't had anything official, but when you look at what she doesn't have going on anymore, this is literally the karmic justice of what she did to Star Wars. Okay? Somewhere somebody does not want her to do that to Indiana Jones. Yeah, it does. And I don't, even if it makes $1 billion, it's not going to make any money. And that's too bad. I mean, Harrison Ford and John Rhys Davies, who I think is in the movie, deserve better. They really, really do. You know, I think James Mangold deserves better. Steven Spielberg walks away from this. You know, George Lucas doesn't show up to the Rise of Skywalker premiere. And no one thinks there's anything hinky going on with any of this. Lucas isn't involved. He's going to get an executive producer credit, but he's not involved with it because of Crystal Skull. Again, same mentality that drove TFA is the same one probably that was driving Indy 5 until Bob Chapek said no. And the board said no. Okay. It's hard for people to understand this. But Kathleen Kennedy was, 2018, the most powerful woman in Hollywood until Soilo came out and lost $250 million. All right. And then everyone was like, oh, Kathy, you know, the most powerful woman in Hollywood is not Kathleen Kennedy anymore. It's Susan Arnold, and she's the boss, not Kathy. Kathy can't tell Disney anything anymore, and she never could. She was just lucky enough to be friends with Bob Iger. Her power doesn't come from being talented. It comes from the fact that she networked. I mean, which is not exactly creative talent. It's like, wow, you know that person. You know, it's the same thing with Lord of the Rings. The showrunners, you know, they don't have any credits to their names. They knew J.J. Abrams. He is the one that got them the job. I say Faja, friends of J.J. Abrams. I think it'll probably do well, but it won't do as well as it should. I mean, I'm not going to make hyperbolic statements like that till we get a trailer. I don't think it's fair to the production. I don't think it's fair to the cast. I mean, it wasn't their fault this shit happened. You know, and even if it's good, it won't get the reception it should. And the reason why is because, you know, the fans, don't like Kathy Kennedy. All right. Let me tell you something. Her husband knows that. You never see a picture of her anywhere. that he's taken. No pictures of Kathy at all. None. Because he knows. They all know. And it's probably not for our sake, it's probably for her sake. I've heard a lot of things about her. That rumor going out that people were actually sending cat litter to her. Dirty cat litter. Well, Sci-Fi Universe, The Rise of Skywalker lost money. It made $1 billion. All right? That movie is considered a hit because it made $1 billion. You know, and again, it could be it may be a good movie. You know, because I do believe that they've reshot everything. They've redone everything. And to me, you know, a movie is not necessarily lost if there have to be reshoots. It depends on what the reshoots are. Like The Rise of Skywalker. That movie was a shit storm right up until the very end. They were reshooting. And the reason why is because Kennedy lost her marble over not having a Raylo kiss and other bullshit. And they needed to add, you know, lesbos in love and all the rest of that garbage. You know. But I believe that is why. And it turned out to be a disjointed mess. Even more so than The Force Awakens. Again, the sequel trilogy is the anti-Star Wars trilogy. Nothing to do with it. It doesn't make sense in universe. The shows, when you look at them on the surface, don't make sense as a trilogy, a coherent story. They also, but when you look at the underneath, they all make sense together. Okay? Anything to destroy what George built. Because they thought they were creating Star Wars again. It's like, no. You know, first off, you devolved the 3 heroes. You trashed them. You've turned the Force into a farce. You know, you didn't world build. You didn't... They missed soul. There's no soul to this. Okay, Sci-Fi Universe, if YouTube is running around doing shit, I mean, look, Tug basically posted a thing on his community page saying that if you're not getting your comments posted on the videos, it's not me, it's YouTube. Okay, they've done that to me before. Oh, okay. Troy, they do that a lot. They do that a lot. I've seen them do that. You know, everywhere. So anyway, I'm, you know, looking at Indy 5 saying, considering what it is, it'll probably make $1 billion. But okay, all right, guys. But it's not going to be a financial success because the bullshit going on in the background. And that's it. I mean, this movie's been cursed, but honestly, I believe that God and the universe is like, we're done. This woman is a bad person, and Kennedy is a bad person. I mean, yeah, you can sit there and make excuses for her, but she doesn't get it. You know, they don't. You know, it's time. The Empress has no clothes, and you know, I do believe that the things that she was trying to do to Star Wars, Indy, were the same things she's tried to do to Star Wars, and it blew up in her face. And with Harrison Ford getting hurt, everything, the production put on hold, getting back online, then the rumors of what the plot might be comes out. Indiana Jones without Indiana Jones. Anybody want to see that? No. That's stupid. Here we go. Okay? And that's why Chapek and Arnold and the board said no. You know? And it's, and that's what I believe. You know, but again, going back to, I do believe people with a strong sense of moral clarity do stay the same. Which is why the sequel trilogy characters don't mean anything to me and don't make any sense. You know, it's just, I mean, Han losing the Millennium Falcon. Only a moron would think that was a good plot point. JJ, you know, loser. If haha, mad. Do I believe? I think Steven felt like the script wasn't what he wanted it to be. I also don't think he wanted to be part of it because I don't think he really wanted to make this. I think the driving force behind this was Harrison Ford. I really, really do. Kennedy took advantage of the fact that Spielberg was gone. All right, because if he was directing it, the movie would already be in the can. They'd be into they'd already be talking about post-production. We'd be looking at that movie opening soon. All right. You know, you can't make Indiana Jones without Spielberg and Lucas, and you cannot do Star Wars without George Lucas. You just can't. Mazurus is right on that. And again, what we're seeing with Indy 5 is the same shit we saw with the TFA, Rogue One, Solo, and The Rise of Skywalker. All right? And that's, yeah, well, it's, I mean, it, you know, we could sit here and talk for hours about the plot holes and the inconsistencies. But what we're talking about is who actually ran both shows. And it's Kathy Kennedy, okay? With no Lucas and no Spielberg to pull her back. You know, is she on the set right now? I don't know. I do know Harrison Ford is. But, and it's weird, no paparazzi pictures at all of him in London. And none of anybody from that set. They're keeping it very closed. Very interesting. And now the leaks are very, very minimal. That tells me somebody else is in charge. I think I'd like to know who stepped in and said no more of this shit. I don't see Bob Chapek walking out on the set saying this is not going to happen. But I do see, you know, somebody who's a bigger dog in Hollywood saying no more of this shit. We need to get our act together. All right. It's just bad. Well, yeah, they think it's all, they think we're stupid. You know, they're learning a bitter lesson with Lord of the Rings fans. Even if they are only using them the appendices to the Silmarillion, the fans are still pissed. It's not Lord of the Rings. And, you know, Bezos can afford to lose $1 billion. And I'm going to tell you something. If you have Amazon Prime, you're paying for that piece of shit. Okay? You know, it doesn't mean that they won't cut it, that they won't, if it's not performing, that they won't get rid of it. You know, Rise of the Resistance lasted 2 seasons and went away. What a stupid movie. I turned it on one day and was so horrified I had to turn it off. I was like, this is bad. This is just, it wasn't Star Wars. When you start feeling empty, like you're watching something you know, um, it it's like, you know, what is this? Because it doesn't make any sense. Part of the reason why I walked out of TFAA is what they did to Han was just like, I felt like I just saw somebody shoot my best friend, and I couldn't do anything about it. I'm like, what they did to Luke, what they did to Leia, General Leia, what the fuck are you talking about? Hi, Koji, come here. Anybody want to see Kojak? Come here. We're almost done anyway. Come here. Want to say hi? Huh? What are you doing? Hi, Kojak. Say hi. Who's your baby? Who's your baby? He's a good boy. There he is, Koji Woji. The big dude. So he was very interesting last night. He was very concerned with mommy. And I think part of it was I was probably a little dehydrated too, but anyway, the other part of the reason beyond all of what I was talking about was dog hair. It didn't feel like Star Wars. Yeah, it was. It was character assassination. And I'm sure JJ go, we didn't do that. It's like, yes, you did. Yes, you did. What do you want? Do I have to explain this to you? That's exactly what it was. Anyway, I gotta go. I'm losing my voice in about an hour or so. I gotta go and get my hair done. And tomorrow at 2 I have that appointment with my doctor for the this anxiety issue I've got. If it turns out I have to step back from YouTube, I'm not gonna stop making videos, but I'm gonna do better at picking topics to talk about. Again, you know, the reason why I got high blood pressure in politics is because I took it personally. You know, that's just who I am. And when you do that, it starts wearing on your body. So anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow, unless something good happens. And if that's the case, I will be back to go, mwahaha. Because honestly, I think it's happening. I really think Kennedy's on her way out the door soon. I really, really do. And we just gotta hold out for hope, and read the tea leaves. You know? Oh, where did you read that? Where did you read that? I'm not gonna, Misha, can you put that in chat? Because I'm not gonna go till you're done, till you put that, because I'm really like, if Rodriguez was fired from Mando 4, 3, whatever it's gonna be, hey, you know, Filoni is a better pick anyway. He's actually a pretty good director. I was pretty impressed with his take on Boba Fett 6. You know, he did a really good job, and he was totally mocking the TLJ. So, where did you hear that, Misha? It wouldn't surprise me at all. And I like Robert Rodriguez, but, you know, Star Wars is not, again, the J.J. Abrams syndrome. It's not your little playground to fuck around in. All right? You're in George Lucas's sandbox still, and you gotta respect it. There's no respect in the sequel trilogy. And you gotta do what you got. If you're gonna do Star Wars, you do Star Wars. You don't bring in characters from Alita Battle Angel. All right. And I don't have a problem with Robert Rodriguez. And that really was my only problem, was the biker gang. I'm like, they didn't belong there. But Okay, if Misha, leave a comment on the video then. Okay, I will talk to you guys later. And if something good happens again, I'll be on. See you guys around the galaxy.